In today's segment, I'll be discussing about the color of colloids and coagulation in surface chemistry chapter. First, let us discuss about the color of colloids. Are colloids colored? Yes, colloids are found to be colored. And color of colloid depends on what? It depends on the wavelength of light scattered by the dispersed particles. So, color of colloids, it depends on the wavelength of light scattered by the dispersed particles. And the wavelength of light, it further depends on the size and nature of the particles. The color of colloidal solution, it also changes with the manner in which the observer receives the light. For example, if we consider a mixture of milk and water, it appears blue when viewed by the reflected light and red when viewed by the transmitted light. So, a mixture of milk and water, it appears blue when viewed by the reflected light and red when viewed by the transmitted light. And you see, finest gold sol is red in color, and as the size of the particle increases, it appears purple, then blue, and finally golden. So, color of colloid depends on the size also. And next, let us discuss about coagulation. What is coagulation? Settling up of colloidal particles is called coagulation. Coagulation is the opposite of peptization. What is peptization? Breaking up of precipitate into particles of colloidal size is peptization. Settling of colloidal particles is called coagulation. Coagulation of lyophobic salts can be carried out in many ways. Here we are discussing some of the ways. One is electrophoresis. By electrophoresis. How coagulation occurs by electrophoresis? During electrophoresis, the colloidal particles, they will move towards oppositely charged electrodes. They get discharged and precipitated. This is how coagulation occurs in the case of electrophoresis. By electrophoresis, coagulation can be done. Next one, by mixing of two oppositely charged salts. How coagulation can be brought about by mixing two oppositely charged salts? Oppositely charged salts, when mixed in almost equal proportions, they will neutralize their charges and get partially or completely precipitated. Mixing of hydrated ferric oxide, that is a positive salt, and arsenious sulfide, negative salt, bring them in the precipitated forms. This type of coagulation is called mutual coagulation. This type of coagulation is called mutual coagulation. Next one is by boiling. By boiling, how will you bring about coagulation? When a sol is boiled, the adsorbed layer is disturbed due to what? Due to increased collisions with the molecules of dispersion medium. So what happens? This reduces the charge on the particles and ultimately lead to settling down in the form of a precipitate. And next one is persistent dialysis. Dialysis we know, which we have learnt under purification chapter. What happens by persistent dialysis? On prolonged dialysis, traces of the electrolyte present in the sol are removed almost completely and the colloids become unstable and ultimately coagulate. A small amount of colloid is needed for the stability of the colloid. If that too is removed, means what will happen? The colloids, they will coagulate, they will precipitate. Next is addition of electrolytes. What happens when excess of electrolyte is added to colloids? They will coagulate. How that coagulation occurs? When excess of an electrolyte is added, the colloidal particles are precipitated. What is the reason for this? The reason is that the colloids, they will interact with the ion carrying opposite charge to that present in themselves. So this causes neutralization leading to the coagulation. Suppose if the colloid is positively charged, means it will interact with the negative charge of the electrolyte, causing neutralization, and this led to precipitation or coagulation. And the ions which is responsible for neutralization of charge on the particles, it is called the coagulating ion. And a negative ion causes the precipitation of positively charged sol and vice versa. Hardy-Schulze rule. While discussing about coagulation, we should know about Hardy-Schulze rule. What is Hardy-Schulze rule? It is nothing but greater the valence of the flocculating ion added, greater is its power to cause precipitation. For example, if you are having 3 ions, say Al3 plus, Na plus, Ba2 plus, what will be the order? In the coagulation of a negatively charged salt, the flocculating power is in the order Al3 plus is greater than Ba2 plus is greater than Na plus. Similarly, in the coagulation of a positive salt, the flocculating power is in the order of, for example, you are having 4 ions, say Cl minus, PO4 3 minus, SO4 2 minus, FeCN6 4 minus. It will be in the order FeCN6 4 minus is greater than PO4 3 minus is greater than SO4 2 minus is greater than Cl minus. So what is Hardy-Schulze rule? Greater the valence. So if the valence of the flocculating ion is greater will be the power to cause precipitation. This is Hardy-Schulze rule. Next one, coagulating value. Coagulating value is what? The minimum concentration of an electrolyte in millimoles per liter required to cause precipitation of a salt in 2 hours is called coagulating value. What is coagulating value? The minimum amount, the minimum concentration of an electrolyte in millimoles per liter required to cause precipitation of a salt in 2 hours is called coagulating value. The smaller the quantity needed, the higher will be the coagulating power of an ion. Next one is coagulation of lyophilic salts. Coagulation of lyophilic salts. What are the factors that are responsible for the stability of lyophilic salts? There are 2 factors which are responsible for the stability of lyophilic salts. They are the charge and solvation of colloidal particles. When these 2 factors are removed, a lyophilic salt can be coagulated. How this can be done? This can be done by adding an electrolyte or by adding a suitable solvent. When solvents such as alcohol and acetone are added to hydrophilic salts, the dehydration of dispersed phase occurs. Under this condition, a small quantity of electrolyte, it will bring about coagulation of lyophilic colloids. Next one is lyophilic colloid, protective colloid. How lyophobic colloids are protected, or we can say protection of colloids. Lyophilic colloids, lyophilic salts, they are more stable than lyophobic salts. We know that, is it not? This is due to what? This is due to the fact that lyophilic colloids, they are extensively solvated. That is, the colloidal particles, they are covered by a sheath of the liquid in which they are dispersed. Lyophilic colloids, they have a unique property of protecting lyophobic colloids. When a lyophilic salt is added to the lyophobic salt, the lyophilic particles, it forms a layer around the lyophobic particles and they protect the lyophobic salt from electrolytes. Lyophilic colloids used for this purpose, they are called protective colloids. Lyophilic colloids used for the protection of lyophobic colloids are called protective colloids.